Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EV Geek Podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and on today's episode, we're diving deep into the world of the all-electric Ford F-150 Lightning, and we're doing it with three passionate owners who are living the EV experience every day. In today's episode, we're chatting with Ben, Jace, and Joel, three Lightning drivers from all walks of life. They'll share their personal stories, the highs and lows of owning a Lightning, and how it's changing the way they work, play, and think about electric vehicles. From road trips to towing to the surprising benefits, these owners have a lot to say. So sit back, charge up, and let's dive in for the ultimate Ford F-150 Lightning ownership experience.
All right, we're going to get started with our ultimate Ford F-150 Lightning ownership experience. So today we have Ben, Jace, and Joe joining us. So before we get started, why don't we let you all introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your background and the model of Lightning that you own, and we'll start with Ben.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ben Westby. I'm in Western Colorado. I'm an elementary school teacher out here and part-time hobby rancher. In the summertime, we have about 2,000 sheep and free-ranging cattle up on our property. And we live completely off-grid, not necessarily by choice, but just how it happened. It's an interesting story. I currently own a 2023 Ford Lightning F-150 XLT standard range.
Gotcha. All right, Jace, what about you?
Awesome. Hi, guys. I'm Jace Craft Miller. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Me and my partner work in the roofing industry. That my background's actually in tech, but I currently do that. We own two F-150 Lightnings. We have they're both 2022 Lariats. We have a standard range and extended range. We bought them within like 4 weeks of each other in 2022, and we absolutely love them. We do everything with them from setting up a transfer switch, to just working in the roofing industry. So, yeah.
Cool. And last but not least, Joe.
Hey, my name is Joe Schultes. I am the founder of the Lightning Clubs of America, which that's how I got connected with Ben and Jace to begin with. I actually am a 911 dispatcher for my real job, and I have an F-150 Lightning Lariat extended range. I tow a 36-foot camper with it. I've got a small family, young family. So we like to go camping and go out to, different resorts and stuff for the kids and have a good time. So truck works wonders.
Awesome, Ben. You have two other educators here in the room too. Sebastian's a tech specialist at a school, and I am the science coordinator for a school district here in Arkansas. So we have other educators in
former tech specialist as well here for.
Look at that.
Years, so, yeah.
Look at that.
Fixing Chromebooks on the daily. Yes.
Yep.
All right, so what made you guys decide to purchase a Ford Lightning over other electric trucks or just vehicles in general?
Yeah, that was pretty simple for me. It's what my wallet said I could do. And the F-150 Lightning, hands down, is one of the most affordable EVs out there. But for EV pickup trucks, it is the most affordable EV pickup truck on the market, especially the standard range. If you can get a Pro, that's great. But in the state of Colorado, there's a lot of incentives to help the purchase. I am income qualified for a program that's called the Vehicle Exchange Program. It's basically a cash for clunkers. You hand in an old gas car. The state of Colorado gives you a $6,000 voucher at the dealership. So at the end of the day, my Lightning, the MSRP was $37,000.
Wow.
So that was a main component for me. I live off grid up in the Rocky Mountains. I'm at 9,000 feet elevation. I need something with four-wheel drive. I need something with high clearance. And the fact that the Pro Power can run my entire property, like I'm running off of Pro Power right now.
So cool.
It's incredibly helpful for us to be able to keep the lights on at our house, especially in the wintertime when we get snowstorms coming in. So for me, it was mostly budget. And then after that, it was capability.
So I would say for us, we work in the roofing industry. We needed a truck. We've had ICE F-150s previously. We had two ICE F-150s, and then Justin had a Power Boost for about a year as well. Honestly, we love the power boost so much that we almost didn't get an F-150 Lightning. I've talked about this a lot with people. We really, really loved our power boost until we drove a Lightning, and then we were like, oh, just kidding. Like that just flew out the window. So, I had a Mach-E previously. That was kind of my first step into electric vehicles, and I owned that for about a year. I absolutely loved it. I traded in for a Bronco, went back to the dark side for a hot second, but manual, Sasquatch, the whole thing. So it was my dream to own a Bronco, and I did it. But I loved. I just couldn't stay away for too long. And Justin got his Lightning, and we just kind of started looking right away. Helped me out of COVID. Even the Bronco wasn't really going to work for roofing. We needed something that would hold a ladder, and that kind of thing for myself as well. So we jumped and went for a standard range lariat after that. So that would be kind of why we didn't really have any other options at the time, as far as other electric trucks go. It was kind of, in 2022, it was pretty much just the Lightning or, power boost if we wanted to, stick with that. But yeah.
Cool.
So I came out of an ICE F-150. This was my first EV, actually. I was contemplating getting a Tesla sedan or sticking with my truck, and I've always been a truck guy. Just the identity of being in a truck kind of kept me in a gas F-150 right up until they announced the Lightning. And when they announced it, I was like, that's it. I know exactly what I'm buying. I saw the headlights light up on the stage, and I was like, that's my next truck.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will say, the Lightning is, I would say, the man crush for Sebastian. He loves it. We got to drive a 2022 one. That my buddy who owns a EV dealership here in Little Rock, he got a 22 model, and we got to drive that, and we were impressed just how. And I'm a former F1 Ford Ram 1500 owner, and I was impressed. Like, hey, this feels like driving my Ram 1500. It was pretty cool. So, I kind of Facebook stalked y'all before this, kind of see what you guys all do. And y'all have three completely, and Jace talked about this little, completely different use cases for your Lightning. So what features of the Lightning have you found to be most useful and enjoyable in your daily lives?
Well, getting me up and down the mountain safely has been super helpful.
Yep.
Put a good set of tires on the Lightning, and you can just drive through anything. I'm usually the first on my mountain road before a plow comes through, so I'm heading down the mountain usually in unplowed roads. Having the two permanent magnet motors on the truck, so it's essentially like a permanent four-wheel drive configuration, and it just handles our mountain roads so well. I had like Jace, I had a EV before the Lightning. Mine was a Tesla Model 3. So I was already very familiar with the driving dynamics of an EV, but just the having it in the truck factor, it was great. We're powering our entire house off of Pro Power. So we use the onboard generator. We have a 2-pole disconnect wired in. So our house usually runs off of a solar panel system that charges up a home battery system. But if we have several days of snow, we're not producing any solar. Our home battery system's not getting charged up. We do have a propane generator as a backup. But when you live off grid, you need multiple means of producing electricity. If something goes wrong with the generator, or if the inverter fails on the solar equipment, which has happened to us before, then you have no electricity. And so for us, being able to run our property off of the truck is just absolutely phenomenal. We have no street lights for 10 miles from the nearest utility or power line. So we use zone lighting a lot. So we pull up this time of year, it's dark by 5 o'clock. So we got to do some chores outside, got to get animals into the barn. I turn on zone lighting and our whole yard just lights up. So that's been a feature that's been really phenomenal for us. And the frunk, this has got the best frunk out of all the EVs out there. And we use that thing like every day. Backpacks, grocery shopping, feed from the feed lot. Like, it's just that frunk is phenomenal, especially for road tripping.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Road tripping with the frunk has been amazing. Just in our everyday lives, using it, we used to put like cap nails and stuff in the back seat, stuff that bed's full of ladders, so we can't really just random, stuff that you need chalk, for, roof. And we would put that all in the back seat, and so we'd have no back seat. So if we wanted to go downtown or whatever for the night, later on, we'd have to take everything out of the back seat of the power booster, our old ICE F-150s, and, put it in the garage. Now with the frunk, like, we can just drive around with grabbing our frunk all the time. We don't have to worry about, taking it all out and getting those back seats. We're having friends coming with us or our dogs or, what have you. So I'd say the frunk, I'd say like something that is kind of off the radar, so to speak, would be the fact that it's still an F-150. That was big for us, like you, Joe, coming from an F-150 previously, being able to take had we taken our wheels, we could have done that in tires, but our tonneau cover is going on its like third F-150, not having to buy one, for $1,500 every time has saved us, money there. So I know things will change eventually and it won't always be an F-150, but for now that has been really an asset to us.
Yeah. So my use cases, you guys didn't mention as far as I know, but I have two little ones. And it just getting them safely home and to school and wherever we got to go. It's that's my main concern. Other than that, though, like Ben said, I use the Pro Power to power my house when we lose power. I've done it, I think, twice now since I've had the truck, and I'm the giddiest person to go sprinting out my house and plug it into my.
I think all three of us actually, which is kind of crazy. Use Pro Power.
Yeah,
I'll have transfer switches and use Pro Power, which is pretty. And not I don't think we did that before. It's kind of crazy that we, did it because
we don't lose power here in Arkansas, so it's not a normal thing for us. So I've been here for 25 years. I can probably count how many times we've lost power on two of my fingers. So yeah. So,
we lose power where I'm at pretty frequently, but I also live out in the middle of nowhere.
You live out in the middle of nowhere, so yes. I couldn't even find you on Google Maps. I don't even know where you live, so yeah.
Yeah, I think it was January, February last year was the first winter I used it, and the heat ran no problem at all in the house. It was, it was good to have, I had a newborn at the time and my 5-year-old, it was great to not have to evacuate my house and bring them up to my in-law, my parents. We could stay home and heat the house and everything. So that was a huge sell for me when I figured out that was going to be an option, on the truck. The range, I have the extended range and it's just, it's awesome. It's an amazing road tripping vehicle. The Blue Cruise, when you have small kids in the back seat, Blue Cruise is the game changer. The baby starts losing it. You dropped his toy. You got to reach back. I don't have to worry about the car going anywhere when I reach back. That's such a relief. And it's bad because if I drive another car that doesn't have it, I definitely forget that it doesn't have it. But
one pedal drive, one pedal drive, and
right.
You need to hit the brake for it to slow down, right?
Yeah,
I walk away from gas cars, leaving them on.
Yeah, that too. Yep. I mean, my little one falls asleep now. The lightning puts him to sleep the second we, go in, and I'm like, all right, well, we're home, so I'll just leave it running in the driveway. It's not gonna. There's no fumes, no nothing. I can plug the baby monitor right into the truck and the outlet inside, and I know when he's up, and I go and get him out. He's good.
Yep. Pretty cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Ben, you've already touched on this a little bit, but and I've spent a little time now, have driven a Lightning, I think for what was it, an hour maybe?
Yeah, an hour and a half, yeah.
Long enough to make some first impressions, but definitely not as long as you guys, obviously. So what are y'all's favorite things about just how it drives, the performance of it, and just in general?
Yeah, well, it's got some really great customizable modes on the main drive screen. So, if I'm off-roading with some friends or we just got some fresh snowfall, I'll put it into the mud and snow mode. It's got a digital locking differential, and so I can just be within the cab, turn on the locking diff, and then I can just plow through some snow or get through some mud, not really worry about necessarily getting stuck. I mean, I was mentioning before, I went from a Model 3 to the F-150.
That's a big gap there. That's a huge gap.
Well, I also have had a 98, the 3-door F-150, where it's you got the little jump seats in the back, and I got teenagers. So, Joe, you got little ones. I got teenagers.
Right.
Teenagers don't fit back there very well.
Nope.
And but the drive, I was surprised that the driving the F-150 Lightning felt like the Model 3 because of those EV dynamics of the torque, the speed, the silence. And my wife, who really is not, she doesn't care about cars. This whole EV thing, it's you have a hobby, you make friends, you go, I don't need to hear anything more about EVs. We got one. Don't talk to me about it anymore. but for her, like she really liked the Model 3 of how it handled. And then when we got into the F-150, to her it was like, oh, it's just like a bigger Model 3. It really does handle like a sedan, with how it accelerates, the one pedal driving. If you're a new EV driver, getting used to the one pedal takes a little bit, but as soon as you're used to one pedal driving, you never turn it off. It's in fact, you have great pride in being able to time coming up to a stoplight or a stop sign and getting it just right where you can get it to stop and you're like, oh, I got it this time. And so,
Yep.
yeah, just the dynamics is it drives like a sporty, fun car, but you're in the body of an F-150.
Yeah, I think, like I was saying earlier, we had ICE F-150s before, and you have that very stiff rear axle, solid. You hit a bump and bam, it's very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have any weight back there, you feel every bump. So, driving a Lightning for the first time, feeling the independent rear suspension. The first time I actually drove a Lightning was on Ford's test track, and there are 0 bumps on that test track. Like, I mean, it is dead smooth, but you could feel it just on the smooth pavement, the difference. It was really incredible. And so I think that really sold me. It feeling, like you said, Ben, sort of more like an SUV or even a car, in F-150 sized, package is crazy. But I think what sold me was the quietness. I remember when we jumped in Justin's, when we jumped in and we drove 2 hours home. We bought it from a dealer in Columbus, and we'd waited a long time for that order, and we were so excited, and we drove home, and I was owning a Bronco at the time, like I said, and it was just a brick and so loud. Like, it's just so loud, and looked great, but very loud. And the Lightning was just so dead quiet. So that was one thing that I think really sold both of us. We were like, wow, I don't think I've ever been in a quieter vehicle on the highway, to be completely honest. So
Yeah, so my first time driving it, my dealer texted me when I pulled in on the trailer, and I was there within 20 minutes. I scooped my 3-year-old off the playground, and we booked it right to the dealership. The next day was when I was going to do the paperwork, but he's like, here, take the keys, go take it for a ride. And I'm like, all right, sounds good to me. So I clipped my son's car seat in. We jumped in. It was like night and day from my gas F-150 to the Lightning. My dealership is in a major city, and the road that they're on isn't very well kept. I'll put it that way. So, potholes left and right, and in the gas truck, you feel that in your lower back. You feel every bump. Got in the Lightning, and I didn't feel a single thing going down that street, and I was like, I don't want to get out of this. I don't want to get back into the old one anymore. Can I just take some tonight? I'll come back and do the paperwork. So that immediately hit my brain when I pulled out. 0 to 60 time is stupid fast. And it's so unnecessary, but it's so much fun. If you give me a red light, if you let me have the red light, first spot in the red light, I'm gone every time. I burn through tires way too fast. Between those two, the driving, like these guys said, though, the silence is it's very glaring. Like, if I get my parents, they drive a Chevy pickup truck. If I get in there, I'm like, dude, this thing's so loud. Like, you forget how loud and how used to a loud vehicle you were until you get into one of these. So,
yeah. So, Sebastian's first experience driving it was we pulled out of the parking lot, and he said, "Let's floor it." And immediately those back wheels started screeching, and Sebastian said maybe 1 or 2 dirty words when it happened. We're like, oh, wow. Because if you floor a gas truck, it's like, look at you like, huh? What are you doing?
You got a little delay.
A little delay. This thing went, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, oh.
Well, and Joe, you mentioned about the potholes and stuff. That brought to me to the thought of, like, when I'm on my gravel road and the logging trucks, when the logging trucks are coming up and down for the National Forest Service, we start getting these insane washboards. And if you're in a gas truck and you've got this long, empty bed, you're fishtailing on those washboards all over the place. And in the wintertime, I'm putting sandbags in the back of the truck.
Yep.
But
You don't do that.
yeah, if you're from any kind of EV, you're sort of used to that, like, 50-50 weight distribution of a battery pack on the bottom of a car. But if you're going from a gas truck to an EV truck, the handling is so completely different because of how the weight is distributed with the battery, and it handled dirt roads and switchbacks so well.
On average, I take turns at like 10 miles an hour faster than I used to, because the truck can just grab right on and go. Whether it's,
Yeah.
maybe in the snow I slow down a little bit, but exit ramps and stuff, I'm flying by cars because they can't make those turns like a heavy. This thing's over 1,000 pounds.
We surprisingly seen much tire wear, from like we would say the same. I think that we, drive quicker, we accelerate faster, corner quicker, but we really have not noticed a significant drop in tire wear, which is crazy. I mean, we switched from the OEMs right away, but we've had these ultra terrains on the last 4 trucks we've had, and I don't know, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear all 3 of you. I'm happy to hear that all 3 of you.
Oh, sorry, Sebastian.
Sorry. I'm happy to hear that all 3 of you guys have the exact same thoughts I did when I was driving it that first time of, wow, this doesn't ride like a gas truck at all.
No.
Yeah.
I've never been in a gas truck that, unless you have stuff in the bed, like they all ride like trash.
Yeah.
Unless you put like just cinder blocks in the back of it to like put the bed down, level it out,
Until I got this truck, I didn't realize how bad they actually drove, like how like bouncy it actually was. You never realized it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In denial.
Yes, because I've had plenty of time in full-size trucks. I used to own a Nissan Frontier. Like I've had plenty of time in trucks, and they all ride awful in comparison.
Like trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit kind of piggybacking off that, because you all have said you've owned some sort of gas powered truck in the past.
Mm-hmm.
When the people come up to you and say, I own an ICE F-150, Chevy, Dodge, Ram, whatever it is, what do you say to them when how to make that transition to an electric vehicle? Because a lot of times we hear, I drive an F-150 gas car. There's no way I can make it an electric vehicle. What do you say to them?
Oh, I say if I can make it work, anyone can make it work.
That is true.
I'm at 9,000 feet with switchbacks and national forest gravel, gnarly roads, and then we're plugging it in and using the battery pack to power things and be a mobile workstation. And then I got charging down in town. But most folks, I think the biggest thing is always, especially here in Western Colorado, this is a particular region where it's gas, it's oil industry, this is truck land, and it's always about the battery. Like, is the battery going to die after 10 miles? How much is it going to cost? What's the range? That's right. And, if you're not used to looking for EV charging stations, you don't necessarily know how to identify them. After you've driven EVs for a while, you're like, oh, the new Tesla station just went up. Oh, there's a new charge point over there. Or, oh, this place has level 2 charging. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, as an EV driver, you pick up oh, there's charging everywhere, and it's literally just an outlet.
But you don't see any gas stations anymore. Literally, I don't even realize I'm passing them anymore.
Yep.
Right. But so here in rural Western Colorado, it's usually about well, I just I need to drive 500 miles before I stop. I don't even pee. I don't care about the biological needs of the other people in my vehicle. I'm going to go 500 miles nonstop. I got a family, man. We stop every 2 hours, no matter what we're driving. It's all about just the charging rhythm. You line it all up with your charging, and it all flows really well.
Yep.
And so when I talk to people, it's just you're really just changing a few habits that, you do all of the things that you would do for a stop at one stop, bathroom, food, while you're charging, rather than get some gas, find a rest stop to use the bathroom. Oh, I'm going to pull over at this McDonald's over here. You're doing all these little stops anyways. But when you're EV driving, you typically are doing all of that packaged in one stop. But also just the idea of the we were talking about before, gas trucks just handle a lot of these back roads really poorly. And I just really love letting people sit in the seat, drive it, get up and down my mountain road. And they're just like, oh my gosh, this handles so well. And I think butts in seats is the biggest advertiser.
Yep.
You really don't know what you're missing out. It's really hard to describe you don't know what you don't know. So until you actually experience it, all you have is hearsay. And so usually I just try to get somebody to at least drive it around the block if they're uncertain about making the switch.
Yeah, I think for us, typical questions, right? oh, do you tow with it? Oh, do you road trip with it? Like, oh, when we get groceries, so like we're the only Lightning at the boat ramp at, down and Lake Erie. There's no other Lightnings. I haven't seen a Silverado, nothing. So no Rivians either. It's kind of crazy. So, but, I mean, I think it's just, just being there, showing up, showing people that this is what they're capable of, going to jobs every day. Customers ask, of course, questions, and it's just they see the frunk open up and they're like, oh, right away, that's different. So just answering the questions for us, we do a fair bit of road tripping, but for us it's mostly like the same trips over and over. We don't really like road trip too much over across the country. So for us it's, like I said, just showing people everyday stuff that our lives haven't changed, and in fact in some ways have only gotten better with the truck. So
I usually ask like use case questions, like Jay said, do you tow, or what are you looking to do with the vehicle? But not only that, but what your work commute looks like. Most people aren't road tripping on a daily basis. Most people aren't driving 100 miles on a daily basis. The average is about 45 minutes from your home for work commutes. So, all these people get these notions of there's not going to be enough range, it's going to die. So they get so stuck in these myths that they have that just presenting numbers to them actually can take that rug right out from under them and kind of go, oh, wait a minute, that isn't true. Okay. My first few times I took the truck to car shows, I took it and set up a whole TV in the front and everything like that. And I had a couple come up to me and, what if we wanted to drive to Disney in Florida from, upstate New York is where I am. And I'm like, the truck will find the chargers for you and you make it. Well, you can't make it on one charge. I go, you can't hold your pee for 24 hours.
Yeah.
What are we talking here? Like, you have to get out anyways.
I can't even hold mine for 100 miles. So
you can barely make it. Great. So, like Ben said, though, with the family, like getting out and charging and getting inside, get the kids to the bathroom, get food. The truck usually beats me finishing charging before we're even back to it anyway. So, it's never been an inconvenience to own this truck. It's been the complete opposite. I honestly feel like I'm like driving like a luxury car around, and I'm better than everybody else sometimes. I don't know if you guys do, but like, I'm like, this is
especially
better
in truck.
I can tell you that.
I feel like you have you have a luxury vehicle feel, but in a truck, form. I think that's what sold me too. Is the Mach-E, I loved it, but I wanted to be higher. Like I wanted the true SUV or the true truck, and I feel like Lightning kind of combines all of that together.
Exactly.
Even if it's in a little bit of a larger package, then maybe, we don't need two F-150s. We could probably figure out a way to get, around having two true full-size trucks. But what else? There's nothing better in my mind on the market right now.
Awesome.
So the Lightning obviously has a lot of really cool tech in it, right? What's y'all's favorite little piece of it?
We know what is this for Ben.
So many though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just I gotta keep going on the Pro Power just because it's so useful. I know eventually they'll get like back to this. The mobile app last year used to have the accessibility to activate and monitor some of these features. They've done a redesign, and throughout that redesign, a few of those features were removed, and they're slowly being built back in through that redesign. So like the mobile app, I don't really use a whole lot at the moment because its functionality for me is more than just it's more or less just like, okay, I'm gonna lock or unlock or activate the HVAC system before I get into the truck in the cold. But being able to just power things like I power my house, but also like I live in a national forest. I have a lot of woods. Our only source of heat in our home is a wood stove. I do a lot of logging. And so I can drive a couple acres into my woods and have a mobile power station just to run my chains. I have electric chainsaws. I have electric snow blowers. I can run all of those features with the Pro Power. And so for me, like that's like the biggest tech thing is like I can just be out in the middle of the woods and I have a completely like fully functional, powerful workstation. And that's been really helpful for me.
Yeah, Pro Power's been great for us, but not to beat a dead horse, I'd say Blue Cruise has been awesome. Something that we didn't have before. I know that kind of isn't lightning specific. It is on Ice F-150 as well now, but I think that was a big surprise for us when I first used it. We had been familiar with Copilot 360, but I don't know. I didn't expect that every single time that I would get on the highway, essentially, that I would naturally put it in Blue Cruise. But that's just, and Cleveland's kind of built like that, so it works really well for every highway's covered. And if you want to get anywhere, you're pretty much taking a highway. So that and phone as a key was a big one that I really like. Being able to use your phone. I haven't used a key in almost 3 years now. So yeah, I would say those two things are really big for me.
All right, well, me going last, everybody picked the ones that I wanted, so...
Sorry, Joe. So you can
no, with Jace, I was just talking to somebody today online. Every time I've gone in for any sort of customer service updates on the truck or any recalls or anything like that, I forget my key because I use my phone. And I get there, and he's like, "Where's the key?" I'm like, dude." I was like, "I'll drop it off later. I'm so sorry. Where do you want me to park?"
I've done it.
Every time. So now he actually has to call me before my appointment to make sure I don't forget my key. So there's been, the phone as key is, especially with the Lariats, when you grab the handle, it automatically unlocks if it sees the key near it. The biggest help when you're trying to load little kids in the car. I don't have 8 extra hands to carry all the stuff I need, the baby, and then reach down. I got to get the fob out and hit the unlock button. I just have to touch the door handle and it opens right up. That's one of my favorite things. But like I said, those guys stole my good ones. But
they're all great.
They really are.
Really power tail too, down and up. That power tailgate down and up is really nice.
Yep.
We use it all the time to take our ladders out, and stuff. And it's just to just be able to touch the button is we're oh, this is great. It's very lazy, but
one thing. Do you have to get?
Oops,
sorry. Do you have to get at least a Lariat to do phone as a key?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Flash does not have the Bluetooth antennas for phone.
Okay.
Yeah, the one.
I'm the peasant of F-150 Lightning owners. I've got the cheap. I've got the all basic stuff. I represent the most basic experience you could get with a Lightning, so I don't have all those fancy schmancy.
But you also represent the most extreme experience that people would say
with
that you can't use a Lightning for.
Yeah.
So it's so you have the lowest model, but you have the most extreme use experience for it. So it's kind of cool how that works out. So.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. So you guys talked about this a little bit in prior or a little bit earlier about towing capabilities. So how have you used your car for towing, and how does it perform in that area?
Yeah, I think Joe is going to be the king of this conversation from what I have seen him do.
Yep.
I've pulled a 19-foot RV camper out into the middle of the woods. My home, a mile from my house, is the entry to 2 million acres of wilderness called the Flat Tops. So I've gone out there with a 19-foot RV trailer that I borrowed from a boss. So that pulled really well. You plugged in you get the right adapter, you can power the whole thing. I've hauled lumber. I just we cut a lot of logs, put them in a trailer, haul them back up to my house to split. Runs out to the landfill. Just filling up junk from the ranch and then just bring it down to the landfill. So I've done some basic towing, but I've not done any 100-mile cross-state towing. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, for us, it's just towing our boat. We had a 97 boat that we recently just replaced. It's the exact same size as the one before it, a little tiny bit lighter, 500 pounds lighter, 21-foot open bow. So we just tow it literally 12 miles, basically to Lake Erie, drop in, 12 miles back home. We've gone to other lakes too, Portage Lakes, which is a little bit further, about a 55-minute drive, maybe 30-ish miles. But for us, it's just pretty much that, and we'll just give the floor to Joe, as he's the king of it, like Ben said.
Go away, Joe. Tell us about it.
So I started my Lightning towing experience with a 2021 Sea-Doo jet ski. I thought, that was what I had at the time. About a month and a half later, my wife went, "Yeah, I don't want to camp in a tent anymore. Let's get in our camper." Okay, now I'm 6'8". I had to find one that I could stand up in the shower. That was my biggest issue, was I couldn't fit in the showers. So that pushed me to a 36-foot camper at 9,500 pounds. The Lightning's towing capacity is 10,000. So we met right there. I started doing all the weight calculations for the trailer hitch and everything to make sure it works. It completely works. And I became a travel trailer camping person. I've always done tents my entire life. So this went from like going to a gas truck to a Lightning to a camper, all in like a month and a half or so. So we've towed that. I've towed it all over New York State. I actually went to Pennsylvania this past May, out to Hershey Park. The Lightning handles towing that much weight. Like you barely know that there's something behind you, unless there's crosswind, obviously. The only downside is the range. When I went in May, it was like, I think it was like 90 something degrees out. So the truck's working twice as hard to try to cool itself. I was looking at maybe 0.8, 0.9 miles per kilowatt hour. It was rough. It definitely doubled my time getting out to Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I had the kids with me, so nobody wanted to be there that long. We were making a bunch of extra stops, but we got there. It works. And like Ben said, he powers it off the truck. I literally power that whole camper off the truck every time. Especially when I'm like prepping it here at home. I get the AC running and everything, so I'm not like sweating my butt off going in and out of it. It's like the what is it? Swiss Army knife of trucks, man. Yeah. Like, it does everything.
You're mentioning the pulling power, like just not feeling like there's a lot of weight back there. And so from town to my house is a 3,000-foot elevation gain on switchbacks.
Oh.
And so we were pulling that 19-foot trailer, and the summertime, it's hot.
Yeah.
And we have the tow package, so it has the extra cooling, even though it's the standard range. And we passed two Hemis that were burned out on one of the switchbacks. They were both pulling big campers up there, and they clearly overheated. And the temperature gauge for the motors and the battery never budged.
Nope.
And I'm pulling straight up 3,000 feet gravel road switchbacks, and it feels like there's nothing behind it. It's a for the driving dynamics. The towing is really phenomenal. Like, it feels so different than a gas truck.
It's impressive.
Awesome. I have a lot of fond memories of making summer trips to Hershey, Pennsylvania growing up. The town that smells like chocolate.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
The second you get there.
I haven't been there in 35 years probably, but some sort of changed since then. So yeah. All right. So now we're going to get our crystal ball out. We're going to look into our crystal ball. So what do you think the future holds for electric trucks like the Ford Lightning? And where do you see the EV market going, especially trucks, in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think places like the state of Colorado, where there's a lot of incentives, it's going to remain really strong. The Colorado also is just very heavy in investing in charging infrastructure with public funds. So, Rivian, Silverado. I mean, I even saw the Volkswagen ID Buzz at our local Volkswagen dealership. I know it's not a truck, it's the minivan, but like new EVs come to Colorado very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think I even remembered seeing the governor posted on X today that Colorado surpassed California in EV adoption and new car registrations.
Wow.
So, places that are already EV friendly, I think it's just going to continue exploding, because what's going to keep happening is you keep seeing them on the road. Hey, that's that car that has the LED bar, and like that's an electric car. I thought that was just an F1, like the new F-150. Like, people are going to see it and notice it. The design language of EVs are a lot more smoother than a regular truck for their efficiency. So just more attention grabbing. I think as long as people are willing to give it a try, to feel it out, it's going to keep growing. I think places like North Dakota, South Dakota, like the infrastructure is still very challenging. There's still not a lot of information or even support from like the state government side of those things. I think that'll still be a challenge, but for places like we're here in Colorado, like it's exploding.
Yeah, I'll speak for here in Ohio. We're close to Detroit, so we see a lot of new cars anyway. We just naturally we see, we see a lot of them. EVs even really too. But Ohio kind of went from like one of the worst charging states to now kind of quickly becoming one of the best. We went from having 0 chargers to being the very first state to apply for NEVI funds. We were the very first state to put those, to start building chargers. I was at those meetings, and it was very impressive, honestly. For my experience was really mostly Michigan, and Michigan was pretty flush with chargers. They were doing a really good job. Maybe not the quickest, but they had a ton of charge point chargers, 62 kilowatts, sitting around that were available, for the most part working. But yeah, Ohio's kind of flip flop. So I will be interested to see how that affects adoption. I hope that it's good. We offer, unlike you guys in Colorado, 0 incentives pretty much whatsoever. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I hope that we still just see companies innovate. I'm worried about profits, and I mean, it's no secret that Ford has essentially stated if they can't manufacture a profitable EV platform, they're not going to release second gen. I mean, they don't want to say that, but I mean, they have said that, but they don't want to say it. But it's the truth. So I think they've got to focus on making next gen profitable, whatever, if it's the Skunk Works first or if it's E3 first, whatever it's going to be first. And I think they can. I really do. I think, but it is a bit of a switch in focus. And I think they're learning. We're all kind of learning what's selling. I was kind of surprised to hear GM's comments today that Altium, or formerly known as Altium, is not really hitting profit margins that they expected. That really surprised me. I thought GM had taken a lot of time to get things right, things that Ford hasn't quite, gotten to, as far as battery chemistry and stuff. And I'm kind of surprised. So I just hope that we continue to see, things improve. And like you said, Ben, incentives improve. But I think a lot is up in the air the next few years, a lot, both on OEM front, politically, there's a lot up in the air. But we're still growing.
Yeah.
I mean, Lightning just had its best month almost ever. So, I
saw that in the news today. Lightning had its best month. Yep.
Ford EV, Lightning already passed its 2023 sales. So, but obviously Ford has had to, make a lot of concessions to sell those vehicles. So I don't know if upper management is like, yeehaw, I mean, I think that's a lot of money that they have to leave on the table to just sell those vehicles. So, yeah.
All right, so that question definitely made Jace the king for this one. He's always been good at that kind of stuff. I'd like to see adoption obviously continue to grow. I definitely am seeing a lot more Lightnings in my area, a lot more Mach-E's in my area, to the point where now the drivers that are in them don't even look up. Like when we first got them, like you're waving to each other, you're trying to connect with each other, leaving cart. Nobody even like cares anymore. It's just a car to them now. So we're getting past the early adopters. We're moving into the general population, which is good. But like Jay said, the sales just are not where they should be. I feel like we may have hit a slump, and there's a disconnect there. Those myths have been on social media and a lot of news agencies for years. People have just, EVs don't work. And they just shove them off and expect them to not be here anymore. But there's way too much.
Just, remember too, ICE vehicles are struggling with really high inventories. Yep. I mean, the environment is just, it's a great environment if you want to buy a car, but it's also a terrible environment if you want to buy a car because you're left with a ton of depreciation on most of your vehicles. So it's like this, we're almost getting to the point where we've like kind of swapped. Like I think we're starting to see more people like Test Calendar today, Alan bought a new F1 Flash, and so we're seeing sort of, especially if you're upgrading, it might be worth it. But if you're kind of staying the same like we are with our Lariats, we look at the numbers, we're just like, no way, not right. We want to, we'd love to, but we can't.
And the infrastructure is too it's too permanent in the ground at this point to go anywhere. EVs aren't going anywhere. Where we are now, it will at least stay there, if not continue to grow. I wish it was a little faster.
Yeah. Totally agree. I mean, we saw news what happened with, Stellantis and Nissan get rid of their leadership, with what's going on with them. So it's not just affecting EVs, it's affecting everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Volkswagen too. They
Oh yeah.
did,
Yep.
It's hitting everyone. We'll see who makes it the next, I'm sure if we have this conversation in 5 or 6 years from now, there'll be some of these automakers who aren't going to be around. So we'll see. All right. Sebastian has the final question for you.
So, if you had to give one piece of advice to someone who was considering a Ford Lightning, what would it be?
I think somebody who's considering to get Lightning, I would say get ready for a lot of package in a really like a lot of features in an affordable package compared to what some of the other automakers have out there. There's EVs all have their own strengths. There's other vehicles out there that have better peak charging curves, or perhaps their charge rate can be held higher longer at a charging session, or maybe their efficiency in a road trip's better. But the Lightning, I feel like for the cost of what it is out the door at most dealerships, you are getting a really well packaged EV pickup truck. And so I think just the biggest piece of advice I'd have is, what do you need out of a truck? And usually most of those things, the Lightning will be able to more than capably handle that.
Yep.
I think first of all, I would say, do you have home charging? Because I think most people
That's important.
Yeah, I just think that's really important. I see a lot of people that don't, but hey, if that would work for you, or if you maybe at work charging, that's a huge thing too. But specific to the Lightning, yeah, we do too. We just got work charging like 2 months ago, and we're like, this is amazing. But yeah, I think are get ready to, for maybe not the most, like you said, Ben, the most technical state of the art truck, but I think for like one of the first, and still kind of shocks me how well built the Lightning was, like engineered as well. The frunk was like the first frunk to the game, and it's still the best frunk in the game, in my opinion. Like, there isn't a better frunk. And just that Ford kind of thought ahead on. Yeah, I just heard the other day that like Sergio's GM Silverado still doesn't have phone as a key. Like, that's crazy to me. I had no idea that $100,000+ trucks don't have phone as a key. I was like, wow, that is crazy. So I mean, I just think Ford did a really good job. I hope that I would hope that they were ready for it, but yeah, it's a great truck. You can bring, like I said, all your stuff from your previous F-150s. There's a lot of benefits to the F-150, but most of all, I think I would say maybe lease. If you can.
Yes, that's the new thing now. Yes. Is the lease EVs now. Yes,
I know we probably would have leased at least one. So. There you go.
I got mine so early that they didn't have leases on them yet, or even really finance
I think
them.
Technically Ford options, but I don't even. It was like the payment
wasn't even available the day I signed up. I was like, "You guys have that?" And he's like, "That's not even. It hasn't even been released to us yet." So I had no choice but to buy it.
Yeah, actually, we probably
now's really the if you're thinking about it, go look at the numbers now. The amount of incentives, the amount of money off that they're offering right now, you're going to get an amazing truck and an amazing deal. My wife and I just bought our Mach-E, leased our Mach-E last night, with, $16,000 off the sticker out the door. It is ridiculous the amount of incentives they're giving right now. So if you were on the fence,
Mach-E, like that's
if you were on the fence, do it today. Get in there before those deals end, because my salesman's like, I've never seen this much money come off a sticker in my entire career. I've been doing this for 30 years. He goes, this is crazy. The ownership experience of having a Lightning, it's better than any other truck you've ever driven. Just know that you're going to be sitting in one of the best vehicles on the road and it's so underappreciated by other drivers. It's nobody really knows how well it really rides.
So that's awesome. So I think we're going to end there, because after talking about it, I think Sebastian lost power at his house. So
Wish you had an F-150
Oh my God.
Lightning.
Yeah, we should have F-150. I don't think the Bolt's going to power that, Sebastian, so we're going to have to look into that. So we're looking here.
He said I power
He
frequently.
never
Oh,
lose
no.
power. In the podcast episode, Sebastian loses power in his house.
Wonder what
So,
happened
yes.
there.
Joel
I know.
said he never loses power. I did not say that.
Someone breathes at Sebastian's house and power goes out. So yeah, thank you all for joining us today. I would love to have you guys back on individually because each of y'all have such a unique case and what you use your F-150 for to kind of go deeper into that. So you'll be hearing from me in shortly in the future about having you back on individually, talk about your each individual
That'd be
use
great.
cases. So huge
Yeah.
shout out. Thank you, Ben, Jace, and Joe for joining us on the podcast today to talk about the ultimate Ford Lightning ownership experience. And we want to thank our audience for listening as well. Don't forget before you leave to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon so you know when future episodes are released. Also, if you want to learn more about the updates to the Ford F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E, check out our Ford video from Cars and Coffee at Electrify Expo, where we talk to Ford representatives. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you on our next episode. So long, everyone.
Thanks for having us.